Hello, everybody. We're back again for another episode of Health Wealth. Some technical difficulties this week, but we're still going to make it happen and get it out. I'm joined again this week by Barry, and we're going to chat through a few things. But first of all, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
Hey Ryan, great to be on again. Thanks for having me. As always, pleased to be on, and yeah, it's been a really really busy time. Lots happening, so um, getting closer to just continuing to work on my 7 day program, which is now going to expand into a 7 week program. So there's a lot. It's funny the first time you're actually doing something, it's hard to gauge when the finishing line is. So and how much tweaking is needed. So obviously I take that very seriously and want to make sure that it's really on point, in terms of what I want to deliver. So, but yeah, it's coming on. It's coming on well, and yeah, we're going to start looking at the landing page as well. Got some more content out on Instagram as well, and on the Facebook page. So that's coming along nicely. And yeah, caught up with some friends as well. So at the weekend, and who are all very health and fitness conscious as well. So they're into various things, combat sports and mostly, and just general very fit guys. So great to collaborate with them too, and share knowledge and inspiration. So yeah, it's exciting time. So hopefully I will be in that position to get the program out locally first, in the local area, and pick up some experience and test it out. But I'm sure it's going to be good, and then we can look into getting it online after that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to surround yourself with people who have the same kind of mindset and the same vision as you, and on the same kind of journey. People who are going to build you up. So that's good. Good to hear the course is coming along too. We're getting very close to getting the whole membership up and running. We're going to start doing some courses in terms of diet and nutrition as well. So that's all good. We're looking to get a whole membership platform set up, which is all in the works and is moving along quickly. So we want to get it set up and start being able to really help people to transform their health, because that is the whole goal of this, is just to help people, especially people kind of who are really struggling with health conditions that are completely curable by diet, but they're not aware of it. We really want to reach out to them and help them do that. So that's good. Good that your exercise program's coming along too. We're going to get everything, you know, together, out and try help people. So brings us on to our subject for today. We're going to talk about mindset this week, which personally for me, I believe that everything really starts with mindset. If you ever want to change your life for the better, whether it's mentally, physically, like financially in your job, it all starts with your mindset. You need the right mindset. Anyone can wake up one day and say, "Oh, I need to be in better shape. I need to earn more money," and they might start doing it. But after 1 week, 2 weeks, they're going to start to just lose their way, can't be bothered, give up, go back to normal, unless they have the right mindset and they've changed their mindset in order to make that change. So I think that's the first thing you need to change, is your mindset. So we're going to talk a bit about that today. Obviously, being a professional athlete, you're going to have experience in that, because it's not possible to reach the top of any platform, sports or any others. It's not possible to reach the top without a good mindset. So obviously, you've had a good mindset for your career. So the first thing I kind of wanted to look at is, do you feel that that's just something you always had inside you, that you always had that kind of discipline and that mindset and that drive to succeed? Do you think it's something that kind of learned over time, or was there like a pivotal moment in your life where everything kind of changed for you and clicked, and you just thought, yeah, like bam, that's it, mindset's on, and I'm going to succeed?
Yeah, good question, Ryan. I think from the possibilities there that you mentioned. I think it was the latter, the final one you mentioned. I think it was always in there. It was always there for me, embedded, into my, my natural, and into my personality and my approach, my mental approach. I think it's funny because when I started out as a kid, I never really. It just kind of happened. I wasn't like I really, oh, this is what I really want to do. It just came sort of naturally. So when I started like competitions, I didn't get nervous at all. I didn't even think anything of it. It was just like another day, and like, oh, this is what I'm doing today. It was only like a competition, going out and just doing your thing. But obviously, that's because the level that you start at is at a more basic level. But as the competitions start becoming more difficult, skill level started to increase. The competition started to increase in terms of quality. You start to get more and more nervous, and you start to be more aware of it, aware of like the stress and the pressure, and that's when mindset really comes into play, because you have to be able to handle pressure and handle stress. And I think a lot of the defining factors, or the defining factor of those who actually are successful are the ones who can handle the stress the best, handle the ones who can handle the pressure better than the opposition. And if you can handle that as a competitor, then you get a much better chance of succeeding. So you have to find that the best way for you to cope with that and to handle that and keep it inside, and project power and confidence when you're out there. But I think in terms of the original point, I think it was always kind of embedded into me, because I was always brought up to work hard and give it my best. I had quite I get grateful to have had a disciplined upbringing. So when it came to gymnastics and being able to give 100%, take it seriously, listen, be coachable, be able to take instruction and apply it, and I didn't have any major sort of attitude problems that manifested itself into my training. Like with perhaps some others who maybe do have that, and it actually stops their progression, or they're difficult to work with. Even though they're talented, they're difficult to work with. They're not very coachable. I was always very coachable, so it was a lot easier for me to progress that way, because I was able to take instruction, take constructive criticism, take the knowledge, and then apply it. Put in the work or make the improvements that I needed. But it was always embedded in me, because I cared. I really, it bothered me if I didn't, not without coach saying anything, or maybe somebody else pointing out maybe I could have had a better score here, a better competition. I was always quite competitive, and I had that sort of that desire and will to win, embedded in me from very early. So I think that there wasn't really a point where it kind of clicked, as you say. I think it was always there, and it just kind of grew and grew as the commitment, as I trained more and competed more. I think I remember I was maybe about 10. It was still at club level. I hadn't actually made nationals squads yet, and it was a floor and vault competition, recreational, Glasgow. I remember it was at a very iconic arena, at sports arena in Glasgow. I was really excited for it, and it was all the boys in our squad were competing that day. And I remember it was a good crowd, and I actually had a really strong competition. I invited one of my friends from school, actually, because I told him that I was doing gymnastics. I said, you should come and watch me. So he actually came along and watched, and I had a really strong performance. And that day, I remember I finished fourth. I finished just outside the medals, and everyone was saying how well, oh, that was, you did really well, and you did you did good routines, and you didn't make any mistakes. And I just remember being like so kind of angry at myself, like that I didn't make the podium, and I was gutted sort of for my friends who came along and watched, but didn't get to see me, up on the podium there. So, and but the boy who won deserved to win. Like they deserved it. I was just short, but even at that age, I felt the the sort of pain of losing, and or maybe not getting the result I wanted. And that just drove me more and more as started training more, competing more, competition get higher level, and just things became more serious. So I think I was always naturally in me that mindset about being a winner. Like having that winning mentality. That's I always had that. Um, Even if obviously there's some competitions where you're probably not going to win, because there's a levels to every game, isn't there? There's levels to every sport, and you go to a certain level, a certain competition, or a certain championship, and there's some really really top level guys there. You're not going to win, but you expect to maybe make the medals, or a top six, or a top eight. And if I achieved that, then I was, even though I didn't win, I was happy. I achieved my objective. Um, but not doing my job well, or maybe making mistakes, that always resonated with me, because I cared. It hurt, but that drove me to make me better. So I think I had that embedded in me from quite an early age, and it was just, I think the only thing that changed was when, as I said earlier, I wasn't conscious of the early competitions. I wasn't conscious of what was at stake. I wasn't conscious of like being nervous or being out in front of a crowd. Like it didn't register in my brain. Like it was just another day. Just went out and did my thing. And normally it went quite well, because I trained well. And it only started becoming more. I started becoming more conscious of it as the competitions got more high level, and more, I was doing all six pieces of apparatus, and there were bigger crowds and things like that, so there was more at stake. And I think that's when the mindset comes into play. And the biggest thing for me is being able to handle stress, or handle pressure. And I think that that's something that transcends into all sports, and all things in life, whether it's studying for an exam, or nailing a presentation, or going into a bid, or a sales negotiation. It's all about being able to handle the pressure, keeping it inside, and not letting it affect your performance, and just going out there and owning it. So I think being able to handle stress is a big part of a successful mindset.
For me, I mean, that really hits home in terms of the competitiveness. I've always been super, super competitive growing up as a kid. Hated losing, absolutely hated losing. I still hate losing. Learned to kind of deal with it a little bit better. But one thing that really bugged me was when people would say, about learning to be a good loser. Like the, I don't think that's a good kind of mindset or frame to kind of put on people, is learning to become a good loser. You shouldn't want to become a good loser. You should want to be a winner. Losing should hurt. It should absolutely hurt. You can learn to deal with it with some grace, but losing should hurt, and you should not want to lose. And I don't like the way that people try to encourage kids, like, it's okay to lose, just you got to learn to lose well. No, don't learn to lose well. You need to try and be a winner. And I think that being taken away from kids does not help them. It doesn't help. People think by making it less competitive and kind of, oh, don't have to deal with, defeat so much. They think they make it better from, they're making it worse. There's no discipline. I mean, you spoke about how you feel the reason that you had that kind of good mentality and was from being disciplined growing up. And that is something that's severely lacking nowadays, is disciplining kids. And due to that, I think I think that is one of the reasons why a lot of kids do not have that drive and that motivation, or people who are adults now, they maybe weren't taught discipline as kids. And I mean, being taught discipline doesn't mean being, you know, smacked or sent to your room or told off every time you do something wrong. It's just discipline in terms of teach you boundaries, teach you that you need to do this to earn this. You know, I do that with my kids. I make them earn stuff. So, for example, if whether it's the iPad or my son just had his birthday and he's got a new Nintendo Switch, I think it is, and in order to use it, he has to exercise first. So he goes to boxing, he goes to the same boxing gym as me, and he has to, you know, there they have him doing press ups, burpees, sit ups, whatever. So if he wants to do 30 minutes of Nintendo, he has to do 30 press ups, 30 sit ups, 30 burpees, 30 squats. Does that, he's got 30 minutes on it, no problem. So it's just teaching him that A, that he has to earn it, and then obviously B, it's going to be making him really fit and strong in the progress. So it's a double whammy of positive for him. And it's good to teach kids boundaries. Like, we all love our kids and we all want to give our kids whatever they want and make them happy, but that is not good for them long term. Make them earn what they want, they'll then enjoy it more, and it teaches them life lessons. They need to be taught discipline. That teaches them for the future. You know, I was taught discipline as a kid, and I desperately wanted to win. I hated losing. You know, it helped me to be driven, having that discipline and that structure in your life. Not a lot of kids have it nowadays, and it's a shame. It's really sad. But please don't think that you're helping your kid or doing good for your kid by giving in to them and being soft with them. You're not. You're actually harming their future and making them into a worse person. So the kind of thing you were getting at the end, I feel, was about kind of personal responsibility, where you kind of felt that personal responsibility if something didn't go right or something wasn't good enough. And that's another thing that I always go on about, whether that's in a job or an athletic performance or just your general health. People just need to have more personal responsibility. Nowadays, it's so easy just to blame other people. And I catch myself doing it sometimes. I do. And you have to try and stop yourself. So easy. Like, you know, you've done something wrong. Someone says, oh, shouldn't this have been like this? And then you try and pass the blame to someone else. And, oh, no, it wasn't my fault. It was this and that. Like, no, you got to just accept things that go well. They're your fault. Accept them. Things that go bad, they're also your fault. Accept it, own it, take the personal responsibility, and make sure that you're not gonna do that and make those mistakes again. I think that's the thing you have to take from it. And the last point you made, which I've picked up on, is the pressure. You know, I didn't play sport to the level you did, but you know, I've always played football, and you would get these guys who would come along to training, and at training they were like, you know, amazing, doing all of this, doing all of that, and you think, oh, they're a great player. You get to a game, they're non-existent. You know, a pressure situation, they can't do it. Loads of people that just cannot handle pressure. You know, they can't do it. They'll when there's no pressure, they can perform really well and seem really good at something. Pressure comes along, they collapse. So it's all about having a mindset. Like, just physical talent at something is not enough. You've got to have the mindset as well to be able to handle it. And again, I think that all stems from what we talked about before, which is the discipline, and that having that drive and being able to take personal responsibility for things that go right and go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a lot of good points, Ryan, in terms of as well, the the topic of, you know, today's generation and today's children, and that, and the fact that discipline's lacking. Um, you know, when I was growing up, obviously I didn't have the distraction of uh, social media or technology like they do nowadays, but there were, which obviously makes it more difficult, I suppose, for parents, but, and it's part of the culture now, but at the same time, it's not an excuse, because we still had computer games. Kids were still going, meeting up with their friends after school and doing whatever, you know, hanging out, playing in the park, or, you know, getting up to mischief, or just, you know, in better cases, actually going over and socialising. There was clubs, there was scouts, there was like after school things that you could go and do. Um, so there were still, you know, and obviously TV and stuff. So, you know, there were still distractions, and there were still things that, you know, bad crowds as well, that you could end up getting suckered into in school and leading you down a wrong path. But I was lucky that I had, you know, I was taught, you know, right, right from wrong, and that there's consequences, for my actions, that I didn't, I would get a telling off, you know, and rightly so. If I wasn't showing, if I wasn't doing my homework or not training hard enough, or eating too many sweets or whatever, or just generally being misbehaving or not doing things the right way. There was consequences. Like I didn't get a treat at the end. Um, I wasn't allowed to go, over at my friends for 2 weeks, on my day off. Um, even got told, that you're not going to get taken to gymnastics anymore, So I realised there was points that I couldn't cross, because there was for every action there's a reaction, So and that there was consequences to me being out of not being out of line and not behaving and not doing things the right way. So I had that instilled at an early age, and when I came into gymnastics, that was already in place, and that's where I've just found generally there. Kids would obviously you will get some that are a distraction, and there's plenty of examples I can give. But I had that sort of discipline instilled in me before I actually started. And I think kids, obviously these days, it's a lot more difficult. And I found this with coaching, through my years of coaching as well. Some kids, they're a few in particular, super talented, but no attention span. Very very difficult to actually give instructions, and then the moment your back's turned, it's gone in one ear and out the other. And they haven't actually taken that in because they're running over to their phones. At the locker area, at the side of the gym, and they're having a chat with, they're you can see it, they're away and they're just checking their phones, or they're sneaking in a sneaky sweet that they've got hidden in their bag, and just a little trip out to the vending machines. And that is just it's a lack of awareness, a lack of discipline. I mean, it's sometimes you just had to laugh, but it was frustrating because we're not there to childmind them. We're not there to look after them for a few hours, or they're there to train. They're there to get better. They're there to make them, high level gymnasts, so that they can compete and win and achieve things. That's our job as a coach. So when you're and obviously you can't control what they're doing outside the gym as such, because you're only really seeing them when they're training. So you only get a finite amount of time to try and shape or get out of bad habits and shape their mindset into the correct one, eradicating distractions as much as we could and just keeping them focused. But it's very difficult when they're in a different environment outside of the gym that you don't have anything to do with, like at home and at school. You don't know what's going on, and I'm not a parent yet, but I do plan on having children, and when that happens, I'll raise them with the same sort of values that I was, and make sure that if they are going to have a treat, and they're going to they're going to have some sort of they're going to have something nice at the end of the day or at the weekend, like a day out or whatever it is, that it's earned, that they've behaved well, that they've done everything that they've been told, they've done their homework, they've exercised, they've done the things that I've asked, and they've shown discipline, and they've done all the right things, and then they can get their reward, and that's just a much better model, because then they enjoy it more as well. Whereas I think now in many cases, kids are just given what they want whenever they want, they rule the roost, so and then that transcends into a negative attitude later in life as well.
Yeah, so really important thing that you said there about is focus. Like they've got to have the focus. And especially nowadays, kids massively struggle with focus. With social media, your things like TikTok and Instagram and everything, there's stuff just so quick. A couple of seconds attention span and it's gone, and focus is hard. Again, with my son at boxing, that's one thing they always tell them: focus. You need to listen. Say stand up straight, this, fight stance, back to standing straight. And if they don't do it, press ups. You get punishment. Focus is important. So teaching kids that is definitely going to help them in their later life. And in terms of kids being given stuff too easily, like you mentioned, we took my son out for his birthday with some of his friends, and you see how some of them behave, and you can just see the stuff that's clearly they get away with at home and that they're going with. And it's shocking sometimes. You're like, it makes you appreciate how well behaved your own kids are. When you see some others, kids just get stuff too easily, and people give in. And one of the worst things people can do is if you say, you're not having this unless you do this, and then they don't do it, but you give in anyway and give them it. That just teaches them that you don't have to do the work, you just get it anyway. And obviously, that's a very poor frame to set. It's going to give them a poor mindset. And when they get into the real world and they discover that, hey, real life, the real world's not like that. Life is not like that. If you don't put the work in, you won't get anything. And so you need to think about, again, I always talk about long-term thinking. You need to think about the future of your children. Yeah, you want to make them happy right now by giving them what they want, but is it going to help them long term? So cycling back round to discipline, obviously you said that you kind of felt that it was always there with you and you kind of had it, but do you feel that that discipline can be learned later in life for people who didn't have it growing up? And if so, do you have any kind of tips and things that helped you to continue to improve yours as you went along?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always ways to improve our mindset, and that doesn't stop with myself. I'm constantly looking to improve it and make it better than what it is. I think something that I mentioned the last time was I think you've got to, as long as that person, as long as they care and they feel accountable. I think accountability is really important. But if they want, they have to want to make the change. I think if they want to make the change first, then that's like the first big step to improve or to change things in their life. They have to embrace. They have to keep in mind the feeling of why they want to change. So, for example, if they're unhappy about certain things or where they are, they have to keep that in mind and use that as a driving force to make the changes, because they don't want to feel this way anymore. They want to change their situation. Um, and so as long as they care first, that they really want to make those changes, then they can make those changes. I think the obviously the main thing is making sure that if you can do everything that you can to avoid feeling negative or feeling depressed as such, or feeling like you're not going anywhere. You have to put action into place. You have to take action. I think not taking action is like the worst thing. So in order to take action, the best thing you can do is to make a plan. So if you make a plan, you will work. You will take action because you've got it there in front of you. So something that I think is a big game changer is forward planning and having a plan, even if it's just a basic plan. If it's a list of 5 or 6 things, right? Okay, great, get that plan done, write it down, and then take each thing and say, right, how am I gonna improve this? How am I going to improve that? I mean, I can give you, even an example, a non athletic example that I can give you is when I wanted to, um, I wasn't happy with the state of my home. Like it annoyed me to a point that I went and did something about it. Like I didn't really care before, but then there came a point where I actually really want to do this up much nicer, and I've got money there to do it. I'm not it doesn't it's I want to hold myself to a higher standard. I want to actually do it up well, so I made a plan. I wrote down, right, these are all the changes I want to make, and I'm going to focus on just doing one room at a time. Research, plan research, right? Let's find the right unit for here. Let's find the right table. Let's find the right this, the right that, and just make a plan. Just stick to it. Get one part completed and then move on to the next. One room completed, then move on to the next one. That's just an example. Until eventually I got it all done up and it was looking much better, and that actually heightened my mood, because I had a plan and I stuck to it. You know, same with gymnastics. Exactly the same. I wanted to have this skill or this skill into my routine by the end of the year. That combination on floor, or that hold on rings, or that move on the parallel bars. What do I need to do to get that? Right. Let's make a plan, put it into practice. We're really going to drill that. Every day or every other day in training. I'm going to make sure that I can do it by this date, and I can do it within the routine by this date. So having a plan and just sticking to it, modifying it if you need to, or things always need tweaked along the way. But if you don't have a script to work with from the beginning, then you'll just end up kind of floating along and nothing will get done. So that's really important for your mindset, because then you actually can actually see it and write it down and action it. Point of caring. If you care enough, you will improve your mindset and you will find a way. And having a like you said earlier, being a winner, having a losing shouldn't feel good. It's not like you do it and you throw your toys out the pram. It's not that, but you shouldn't be okay with it. Like that. I was never okay with that. I mean, I won a Scottish one Scottish championship time, and I still wasn't happy, because I wasn't happy with the way I won it. It was too close for comfort. I got pushed right to the last piece, and I shouldn't. If I had performed better earlier in the competition, and I knew that my skill level, I should have won with a bit to spare, and I didn't. I won it by a small amount. So even in victory, I could see that I wasn't fully satisfied, but that's a winning attitude. That's how you come back and you keep going, you get better. So yeah, I think these are another really important thing in terms of mindset, is having a plan, knowing what it is that you want, breaking it down and actioning it. Because when you action it, you don't procrastinate, and procrastination's a terrible thing. So
Yeah, completely. I mean, one of the things you mentioned there about caring, that is a huge thing, that people have to care. And that kind of comes into play a lot when you're trying to help other people. They have to care. There's been a number of occasions where, I've tried to help people, but if they're kind of not interested in helping themselves, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much you care and how much you want to help them. If they don't care themselves, it doesn't matter. You could hand them everything on a plate, like an absolute plate. Here you go, here it is. But whatever it is, let's just say someone's badly in debt. They're just mess their life up. And you say, look, I'll clear it all, set you up nice financially. Here you go. They will mess it up again if they don't care. Whatever it is, whether it's, drink, let's say they're alcoholic. If you say, look, I'll get you clean, send you to rehab, get you clean, sort you out, we'll start over good. If they don't care, they'll start drinking again. Doesn't matter. So caring is a big thing. In fact, I've been listening to a lot of doctors who are doing the same kind of thing that we're trying to do in terms of helping people through diet and through lifestyle. So they're qualified doctors. They're working as doctors. They have surgeries. They have people in, and they're trying to treat them with diet as much as they can, as opposed to medicine. There are a few doctors that do that, and they said the hardest thing is getting people to try. Results are easy. If someone will actually try it, they'll get amazing results. Brilliant. But the hardest thing is actually getting people to try, because some people just don't care enough. And it's a sad fact. Some people just give me some pills, can't be bothered. Just give me some pills and that'll be fine. I'll just put up with it. And sadly, that's some people's mindset and mentality. And I guess one of the other reasons would be that some people maybe don't believe it. we've been brainwashed with such poor nutritional information in the mainstream news and everything you're taught, that a lot of people probably think, even though the doctor's saying it to them, they probably think it's just, there's no way that's true. I'll just keep taking my pills and whatever. If you really cared, if you really cared that much about getting yourself sorted, you should try anything. That's what I say a lot about when people are saying, you try and give help to people. I've had it before. You give advice to someone to try and help. They're suffering. They're in a bad way, in a bad place from some type of condition, and you give them some advice to try and help them. And they kind of just start attacking you and saying, "Oh no, there's no way that could be true. I'm not trying that. That sounds like a load of rubbish." Like, okay, sounds different to what you currently believe, but if that was me and I was suffering from something really badly, I'd try anything. Someone come along and said that, I'd say, well, I'll at least look into it, and see whether or not it leads to anything. It's 100% worth looking at. And obviously, if they do decide to look at it and try it, they'll find out that it works 100% of the time. Every single time it works. Especially with all those doctors, that I'm listening to. I listen to a lot of podcasts, watch a lot of podcasts with them on, and they're getting like a 100%, 100% hit rate in terms of people being cured and getting results. But their hardest part is getting people to try it because people just don't care, and that's sad. Um, in terms of the tip for being more disciplined, making a plan that is brilliant. That is the best advice. I completely agree with you there. You have to make a plan and do it step by step because it's kind of similar with I did a video the other day on diet and food, on about talking to people about, I'm giving you the optimal diet here, which is number 10 on the scale. If you're at number 1 on the scale, don't be scared of the fact that you've 1 to 10 and think I can't do that. I won't even try. Just get from 1 to 3, 4, 5 first. That's going to be a huge improvement in your life, and then from there you can maybe build towards 10 eventually, but don't be scared by it, which is the same thing with with goals, with mindset, with discipline. You can kind of say, well, look, I'm here, this is where I'd like to get, but it's a huge jump to get there. And at first you start like everyone does, like with New Year's resolution, first couple of weeks, you're like, yeah, let's go, I'm going to do this. I'm every morning waking up and doing it, and 2 or 3 weeks you've still got a huge way to go because it's a big change and people just give up. So having a plan not only gives you guidance, but it also gives you stepping stones, achievable chunks that you can do. Okay, here's my first target. Like, here I am, this is where I want to get to. Here's my first target, second, third, fourth, fifth. And you're just ticking off these small wins. Just, they might not seem like much, little small wins, but you tick off a few of them and suddenly you're halfway to your goal. And that is, I agree, the best way to improve your mindset and to improve your discipline. And as you kind of live by that and you stick strictly to your plan and keep achieving those little goals, it's going to, through positive reinforcement, going to encourage you to continue that. And it builds another important thing, which is momentum. If you can build some momentum in your life, you need to keep that up. That's why you need to be disciplined. You could spend 3 months really disciplined, working really well, building up momentum, working towards your goal. If you take like, 3 weeks, a month off it, you'd be pretty much back to square one. You don't lose that momentum, keep that discipline going, and work towards your goal. And that's what's going to get you there. That's what you need to do. Discipline, plan, momentum. They're all things that will help you to reach whatever it is you're trying to reach. And another thing I would add on for improving your mindset is daily affirmations. They're something that a lot of people I know use. I try to use them myself. And it's just, it kind of sounds, when people first tell you about it, you first hear about it, you think like, it sounds like a load of rubbish. Just wake up in the morning and tell myself positive things. Yeah, that's going to really change my life. Actually does. If you say it and you mean it, a lot of people say it's good to say it out loud into the mirror, kind of really saying it to yourself. And even if, on the outside you're thinking it's a bit weird, your subconscious brain is taking it in. And if you tell yourself every morning you're a winner and you're giving yourself all this positive reinforcement, your brain's going to take that in. And that's how it's going to start to act. Anyone who's interested in mindset and the brain should do some research on, I think he's called the Mindset Doctor. think his name's maybe Steve Peters, Dr. Steve Peters. He was on the Diary of a CEO podcast. I saw him in there. Really interesting stuff. He's wrote a couple books on it. Really interesting about the brain having kind of three different sections, like a mechanical, computerized, a monkey brain, and like a you know general common sense brain, and about how the different parts take over. And your monkey brain, the emotional one, kind of controls you quite a lot, and that's the kind of the part that you can train. That if you keep telling yourself these things, you can change your mindset. He used an example of having like an untidy person. If you just say I'm untidy, that's how I am. When you go into an untidy room, it doesn't bother you. But if you keep telling yourself that you're a tidy person, and you can kind of convince your monkey brain or chimp, I think he calls it chimp brain, actually, not monkey brain. If you can convince your chimp brain that you are a tidy person, when you walk into an untidy room, your chimp brain starts firing off. That's like the emotion. It's like, we don't like this, don't like how this is untidy. We need to do something about it. And then you're going to want to tidy it. And again, when you kind of first hear things like that and listen, they just sound a bit weird, a bit far-fetched, but these things work. You can train your brain, you can convince yourself in a positive way, just like you can convince yourself in a negative way. And that's what most people do with self-doubt, with talking down on themselves. And people do it as humor, but it's not. Your brain's taking that in, and if you continually put yourself down, it's going to, it's going to have an effect on you. It's going to really shape who you are. You keep telling yourself you're all these negative things. Guess what? Now you are those negative things. So people really got to be careful, I think, of what they're saying about themselves and to themselves. Don't put yourself down. You need to build yourself up. In terms of having personal responsibility, like we talk about, yes, you need to have that personal responsibility and maybe be critical of when you do things wrong, except they were you. But overall, you need to be your biggest fan. You know, if you want to be at a certain point, talk to yourself as if you're already at that point and build yourself up. So I think the main kind of points and tips that we would kind of have people take from this podcast episode would be that to improve your mindset, the first thing that's gonna you need for a mindset is discipline. And if you were given that as a child, then that's great. You've got your discipline. If you weren't, then you need to develop your discipline. And making a plan is a great way to do that. Make a plan of where you want to get to, mark out, set out the steps that you need to take to get there, and act on them and keep doing it. Give yourself rewards. Don't give in to your kind of just your wants and needs. Set yourself goals where you'll only give yourself that reward when you reach it. And if you don't reach it, you don't get the reward. So you can use things like that to kind of build your discipline, your mental strength. And that's kind of what you can use to build your mindset. So having a plan, building that discipline, building some momentum, learning to stick to it, and speaking positively to yourself. Positive affirmations work. Try them. Come up with a couple. You can do the same every day, or you can change them up. Just come up with a handful of them every morning. Get out of bed, say them into the mirror, and see. And I would bet a lot of money that you'll start to see some difference from that. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there for this week. I think hopefully there's enough for people to kind of take on board, to find useful, to try and build their mental strength and their mindset to be more disciplined and to get them to their goals, which is where they want to go. So thank you, Barry, again for being with us. Looking forward to the next one and many more so. We've got a guest on next week, which is very exciting to look forward to. So we've got that. Plenty more guests in the pipeline coming up. Make sure that you like and subscribe, whether this is on the podcast or on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you get notified of all our videos coming out. Like it, share it with friends and family. If you're not in the Facebook community group, get over there, get into that. Follow us on all the social medias, And also, if you have specific questions, you're interested in things about your health, your fitness, any of those things, reach out, message us, be happy to try and help you, and let's get optimal together. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover on the podcast, or you'd like to appear on it, then please contact us at hwpoduk@gmail.com, on our website, which is healthwealthuk.com, or on any of our social medias, which are at hwpoduk. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share it with all your friends and family, and we will see you next week.